Chapter 22, A Gigantic Trifle. So how did it all go at the dentist, son? Raps dad, his breathing painfully shallow. Did you have to have a feeling? So feeling is something you need to have when you have a tooth decay. When there's a hole in your tooth, the dentist need to fill it up. That's called a feeling, okay? Alfie's father was sitting in his wheelchair in the living room as his son came in through the front door. It was around 4 o'clock, the normal time that Alfie returned home from school. So his dad didn't yet have a reason to suspect anything. So Alfie returns punctually back home. So his dad doesn't have a reason to suspect anything, okay? Oh, it was fine, thanks, Dad, called Alfie as cheerily as he could. The false teeth rattled a little in his mouth. So the false teeth shook a little because it's quite big, right? Alfie could see his dad's health was worsening by the day. The man was becoming weaker and weaker, like he was shrinking into his wheelchair. Alfie feared that if he told his dad the truth, he would get angry, really angry. Dad would want to speed over to the surgery instantly, that means immediately, and have it out with the dentist, that means argue with the dentist. If the boy's father started shouting or even raised his voice, his breathing would become shallower and shallower. He might even collapse again. Alfie couldn't let it happen. So Alfie couldn't let his dad's dad collapse or his breathing become shallower by shouting at Miss Ruth. So Alfie decided to keep the secret, as in decide not to tell his dad that Miss Ruth took out all his teeth. Awkwardly, that means unnaturally, the boy shuffled into the room. When Alfie came home from school, he always gave his dad a big hug. But today he loitered by the door. So today, Alfie just stood around the door. He didn't want his father to be able to inspect his teeth. He didn't want his father to check his teeth. Well, the late Miss Raj's teeth, her false teeth that is, so it's not actually Raj's teeth, it's not actually Alfie's teeth, but actually late Mrs. Raj's teeth, right? No hug today, pup, Dad appealed to him. This break in the habit made Alfie's father suspicious because Alfie didn't hug him today. So now his father started getting suspicious. I was just going to put the tea on. The tea can wait. I've been sitting at home alone all day, looking forward to our hug. And I want a big bear hug, please. The biggest, widest, huggiest hug you can give. Carefully, Alfie closed his mouth and sucked the late Mrs. Raj's false teeth into place over his gums. Next, he paced across to his father's side of the room. Leaning over the wheelchair, he put his arms around Dad and the man held him tight. So Alfie hugged his dad. Ah, that's better. How I love my little pup. Telling lies to his dad made Alfie feel distinctly uneasy. So Alfie didn't feel comfortable lying to his dad. It was a horrible sensation, a horrible feeling, which found its way down to the pit of his tummy. In shame and embarrassment, Alfie was soon trying to disentangle himself from the hug. Now, parents always know when something is wrong with their child. They can sense it. Dad was no different. So now Dad is suspicious. Dad knows that there's something wrong with Alfie today. Are you sure there is nothing the matter? He asked, looking his son right in the eye. No, I mean yes, spluttered Alfie, attempting to avoid his dad's gaze. Yes, I am sure there's nothing the matter. The dentist went fine. Let me have a look at your teeth. Reluctantly, that is unwillingly, Alfie opened his mouth and flashed the briefest of smiles before closing it. So Alfie flashed his teeth, that means show his dad's teeth for a very, very short while. So just open his mouth and close again. See, like new. Well, they do look better, said Dad. I'll pop the kettle on. With that, Alfie scurried out of the living room and into the relative safety of the kitchen. So now Alfie is safe in the kitchen. Alfie placed the blackened tin kettle onto the little camping stove in the center of the room and lit the gas. The gas from the mains had been disconnected years ago. So there's no more gas now, okay? Bills in red ink had replaced bills in black ink. So they have bills that means they have to pay for having gas. These are the bills, okay? So if you have them in black ink, that means you're okay? You just have to pay whatever's in black. If you have them in red ink, that means you owe the gas company a lot of money, okay? So bills in red ink. So they used to have bills in black ink, now became red ink, and until one day there were no more bills at all and no more gas. So the gas company stopped providing gas to Alfie's family because they just can't pay the bills, right? With Dad unable to work for so long, they just didn't have enough money to pay for everything. So Alfie waited for the water to boil. He reached into his pocket to check that the tooth Raj had so generously donated to his daring plan was still there. With a sigh of relief, he felt that indeed it was still there in his pocket. Now all he had to do was wait for nightfall. So all he had to do was to wait for night time to come, okay? And of course, try and stay awake. The gas in the tiny stove spluttered to its end just as the kettle whistled. The water had boiled, but now they were completely out of fuel. Oh dear, this was the last cup of tea they were going to have for quite a while. Alfie re-entered the living room with 2 cups of tea, but no biscuits, because yesterday afternoon, their social worker had eaten them all. "Thank you, son," said Dad. All seemed well until knock, knock, knock. There was somebody at the door. Alfie's heart skipped a bit. So that means Alfie started getting very anxious. Who is it? The knocks were loud and insistent. Was it Mr. Gray, the headmaster, come to tell Dad his son had been expelled? That means expelled. That means his son can no longer come to school because he was too terrible. Was it PC Plank, come to arrest him after the mayhem or the chaos he had caused in town today? Or Mr. Snoot, the drama teacher, still hoping to carry on the improv? "Sounds like Winnie," said Dad. "No," thought Alfie, "I can't let her in. She'll tell him everything." So Alfie scared that Winnie will tell his dad everything, what happened today in the afternoon, how everybody started chasing Alfie. "I'll ask her to come back later," he said. "No, son," said Dad firmly. "Let her in. She's so thoughtful. She's probably just stopping by to see how you are feeling after your trip to the dentist." "Knock, knock, 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 knock." "Let her in," said Dad again. Alfie rushed to the door. He had to try and stop her, anything. Through the mottled glass, her multicolored clothing made her look like a gigantic trifle. Trifle is like a dessert, like sponge cake like this. Alfie took a deep breath and turned the handle. So he opened the door. "Hello, Alfred. We meet again." "I'm sorry, Winnie. This isn't a good time," he whispered. "It's okay. I won't stay long," she said. "Just a very quick chat to Mr. Griffith and I'll be on my way." With that, she bustled past Alfie. So she bustled, that means move in a busy manner. In her job as a social worker, Winnie was well practiced in people not wanting her around. So Winnie knows what to do because Winnie, as a social worker, Winnie is not popular with people. So people don't like social workers because they are very busybodies. So people call social workers what? Busybody, meddler, pest, stirrer, do-gooder, nuisance, troublemaker, borderer, bossy boots, biscuit thief. Yeah, Winnie's a biscuit thief, right? Winnie had been caught them all, and worse, much worse. As a result, she had developed a very thick skin and was well used to people slamming the door in her face. At quite a pace, she scuttled along the corridor. Scuttled, that means run hurriedly in small steps. Alfie could do nothing more than follow in her wake. Please, please, please don't tell my dad about what happened today. His whisper was becoming louder now. It was almost like a shouted whisper, if such a thing was possible. But Winnie seemed determined to ignore his plea. So Winnie's ignoring Alfie because Winnie wants to tell his father what happened this afternoon. "Good afternoon, Mr. Griffith!" she exclaimed theatrically as she entered the living room. Theatrically, that means like dramatically. Dad's face grimaced. That means twisted a little, because maybe Dad found Winnie's greeting a bit too drama already. So he twisted a little. Even he found her a teeny bit annoying. So even Dad found Winnie a bit annoying. Her voice a few notches too loud. Dad squinted as he tried to take in what the social worker was wearing today. This time Winnie had outdone herself. So this time Winnie had dressed something really ridiculous. Her collective clothes, bangles and makeup was sporting more shades of color than would be found in even the widest set of coloring pencils. So today Winnie dressed until really, really very colorful. "Ah, tea! Thanking you kindly." She picked up Alfie's cup, had a loud slurp, followed by even louder sigh. Then dropped down onto the sofa with all her weight. Winnie hit it with such force that a huge cloud of dust burst from the cushions into the air. "Have a seat, Winnie," ventured Alfred's dad. A little too late. Why? Because Winnie already sat down, right? "Dad, please don't listen to her. I can explain," said the boy, panicking in the doorway. "Oh, I can't wait to hear this," pronounced Winnie. "Alfie has told me virtually nothing about his trip to the dentist," Dad said. "Perhaps, Winnie, you can tell me what happened." "Dad, please believe me," pleaded the boy. "I was going to tell you." "Oh, Mr. Griffith, it's quite a story, said the lady. Alfie was sure Winnie was about to drop him head first into an enormous vat labeled trouble. "Let me get comfortable," she said, plumping up the cushions behind her and stretching out her legs. "This is going to take some time," because the story about how what happened the afternoon with Alfie is going to be very long. This story is going to be very long. So Winnie's trying to make herself comfortable on the sofa before she starts telling the dad. The end.